Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, we can hear you.
How are you?
I'm good. A lot better than I was yesterday. I wasn't very well, so that's why I wasn't on. But I've just caught up on yesterday, so I've just finished yesterday's video.
Oh, amazing, amazing. How about, I can only see P over here, so I cannot see the name.
Oh,
Hi
it's
there.
Katrina.
Oh, no, I can see yours. The other student.
Oh,
is, yeah.
I think it's Pia.
Yeah. Oh. Hi, Pia. How are you? All right. No worries. Even though I don't think you guys are right. But it's okay. Okay, so let's begin today's session then. So, back the neck straight, just gently close the eyes. Start observing the breath. Natural flow of the breath as you breathe in, as you breathe out. Mind and body relaxed. And when you feel ready, begin to deepen your breath. Calming the mind further with this changed breath pattern. Chanting in 3 times, followed by 3 shantis. Exhale completely. For in. Just feel the vibrations. Join both the palms together and turn the chest. And wrap the palms together. Release them on the eyes. Very slowly let the yoga. So open up your eyes and smile. So today we are beginning with a new topic. So yesterday we completed the history and development of yoga. And today we are going to talk about the very famous text that I have been mentioning again and again, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Right? Let me just share my screen so that you guys do not miss out on anything. Or you will also find this name, Patanjali's Yoga. So it is not Patanjali Yoga Sutra, either it is Patanjali's Yoga Sutras or Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Okay. And of course, let me just begin by writing the name of the author, Maharishi Patanjali. So he is the author of this famous text, and yesterday also we discussed he is, the father of classical yoga. And whenever we read about, yoga philosophy, his name is directly connected with yoga philosophy because he was the one who systematized the entire knowledge of yoga for everyone. So he is also like referred to when we talk of yoga philosophy. In Hindi, in Sanskrit, we call it yoga darshan. We discussed in the first class also. Darshan, I told you about darshan and how it's connected. Like it's the translation of the word philosophy. And his text actually gives a way of seeing through the practice of yoga. Practices. So he has given a number of practices in his text, and those practices actually aid us to see. And I told you we're not trying to see something which can be seen through the eyes, otherwise you wouldn't have to practice yoga, right? So he has given an entire process, a set of practices which will help you to see something which cannot generally be perceived through the eyes. So it's a way of seeing through the practices of yoga. And in order to reach that stage, everything that you are doing before it is a practice only. So asana, pranayama, your mudras, bandhas, practice of concentration, meditation, all of these are actually, processes which we go through in order to reach that final stage, which is called yoga. Yeah, where the union is experienced. It's not something you can just attain like that. It has to be experienced. Unless otherwise it is experienced, there is not a lot you can gain out of just studying yoga darshan, right? However, it is also good to read up as much as you have practiced. So your practice and knowledge should go hand in hand. And being a yoga student, you must know certain things about this text, so it has been incorporated as a part of your course. So I will also be telling you about the book overall, right? So I won't be covering sutras. However, an overall idea of the text you need to have. In case you have students in the future who want to read up more, at least you should know what is there in which chapter. And even if you read the Yoga Sutras, the beauty about Yoga Sutras is that even if you read them, like complete them one time in your life, after that also when you pick it up next, depending on how much you have developed in your journey, you will be able to find a new meaning also in them, right? That is why we see so many commentaries that are given on the Yoga Sutras, because depending on where the person was, they gave a commentary, they gave an understanding of what Maharishi Patanjali was actually trying to say. And as I told you yesterday also, at that point of time, the environment, the level of students was very, very different. So the knowledge was also transmitted at that level only. Okay. However, now times have changed. We have changed our thought process. Our same thing like I was telling you yesterday. Also, it takes more effort for us to reach over there because our environment is quite polluted. Even our food quality has declined. So all of these factors contribute to your journey of yoga, right? So now same thing will take us longer to we will take a longer period of time to reach over there basically, right? So in that same way, when you read the Yoga Sutras in the beginning of your spiritual journey and you read certain commentaries also, you will find something else out of them. And then when you progress in your life, it will take you a lot of time to comprehend whatever he has said, even though it's a very short and precise text. uh, it takes a lot of while for us to digest it. So this will be true for any book on yoga that you will read. Most of the books you will take a lot of time to digest the information. The book might not be very thick, however, the words are very heavy. So in the same way, when you read it later in your life, you will find something very different, but still meaningful, still relevant. Yoga darshan is still relevant for our lives. Uh, Everything given in the Yoga Darshan, will tell you how to lead your life, how to manage your life, in fact. Even though it was given so many years back, still it possesses this quality that even today, all of these realities are true for us. All the things that we go through, it's the same circle, same loop that is going on. And because of this thing, the text is still relevant for us. So if you are able to pick up on certain things that are given in the text, the quality of your life will immensely improve. So let me come to the overall structure of the text. So the text has a total of 195 sutras. And in some places you will see generally the number you will see is 196. However, in the original text there were only 195 sutras, and as the commentaries came, in one of the commentaries one sutra was broken down into two, and hence 196 is a common number that you will find at most places when you see the mention of the sutra. And it was divided into 4 chapters. It is divided into 4 chapters. Yeah. And I will be telling you about each and every chapter. But first, let's come to the word sutra. Okay, the chapters are called Pada, P-A-D-A. So let me come to this word sutra. Now, why this specific word has been used? One thing was, in ancient times, the coded language was actually sutra, and then the simplified language which could be understood by everyone was shloka. So you will see Bhagavad-Gita is written in shloka. However, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it was written in sutra form. So the information that he gave in a very coded form. Alright. So hence, like you see for the Vedas also, not everybody was capable of understanding and even reading them. So same thing, Patanjali Yoga Sutra was also actually given in a manner where people could, you could read the sutras if you know Sanskrit and everything. But again, it was given in a very coded form of language, right? And simplified language of this is shloka. So that is why they say that it's easier to understand and connect with Bhagavad Gita because it's been written in the form of shloka, Another beautiful thing about Bhagavad Gita is it's in conversation form. So it becomes very easy for one to understand. Place yourself in the position of the student and listen to what the Guru is trying to say. So one thing is this word sutra is very relevant for us because the entire text is given in this format, and hence you will find multiple commentaries on this, because same thing could be understood in a different manner depending on where the person is in their journey. Second reason why the word sutra is used. Sutra directly in English, if I translate it, no direct translation, however, closest translation is thread. Okay? It's like thread of, I can say, in a particular, he gave the text in a very systematized manner. And in order to understand, say, the 10th sutra, you will have to read the previous 9. Why? Because he gave the entire information in that format where each and everything was linked to the other. So there was a tie between each and every sutra. So you will, whenever you read the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there is no disconnect or out of the blue anything is being discussed. No, everything has its basis from behind only, right? So if you're jumping to the 50th sutra, say for example, then you're going to have to read the previous 49 in order to understand that 50th, because he gave the information in a flow, right? Hence, again the word sutra has been used. The chapters are called pada by him. So we'll see Samadhi, Pad, Sadhan, Pad. All of these I will be writing down, each and every chapter. And his philosophy is again Sankhya philosophy forms the foundation of the Yoga Sutras. So this is again becoming the background, and this book is considered to be a book of Raj Yoga. This form of yoga, it is considered to be text of Raj Yoga. So let me, I think till now everything is just new information for you. So just absorb it. And I don't think there would be any doubts in all of this, because I've just given you the names and not much, something away from fact, right? But still, if you have doubts, please unmute yourself and ask me, right, at any point of time. Let me come to Patanjali's story, in fact. So there are a lot of mystical stories that, that you will come across when you read about his life, his existence, and they are pretty interesting. And, not all of them will seem to make sense, and that is why I always use the word story. So just enjoy it as it is, like a story. However, because no specific time or a lot of details related to his life are actually missing. So you will not find a particular date even for the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. However, there are certain dates which are considered to be the common, like most people agree on that time being his time. So like I told you yesterday also, 500 BC till 800 AD. This is the general timeline in which he has been said to have existed, and the Yoga Sutras, the general timeline for that is 400 BC. The Yoga Sutras, very popularly agreed upon time is 400 BC for the Yoga Sutras, right? So let me go back to his story, because he is a saint. He is, for some, he is a god, right? So a lot of stories come regarding how he came into existence, right? How he came into this human world. So one of the stories goes on like this. So, Lord Vishnu is one of the major gods in Indian tradition, you will see. So Lord Vishnu was, Lord Vishnu, even if you Google Lord Vishnu, you will see that, he's sitting on a serpent. And that serpent that he is sitting on has 1,000 faces. So Shesha or Adi Shesha, both these terms are used to address the snake, which forms his, place of rest. So Vishnuji, whenever you Google him, see those photos, you will see him on this, laying on this bed of snake, right? So one day what happened was Lord Vishnu was resting and he closed his eyes, and as he closed his eyes, he went into trance. So how he went into trance, he got connected to the vision of Lord Shiva dancing, right? And when he saw Lord Shiva dance, his eyes were closed, and suddenly when he got connected to that image of Lord Shiva dancing, his body started vibrating at that uh, frequency, right? When you see something that inspires you a lot, you feel something in your body. Yeah. So that is why we call those motivational videos, because we feel something, we feel motivated. So in that same way, when Vishnuji was seeing him dance, he felt something, and that was the vibration that was created in his body. And because that vibration was created in his body suddenly became very heavy. And when his body became so heavy, his, of course, the cushion that he was lying on had a hard time keeping him stable and holding him. So almost around that time, Sheshaji was about to, give up, because the weight of Vishnuji's body was so much that when, he started vibrating at that frequency, Shesha wasn't able to hold him. And suddenly what happened was Vishnuji woke up. So not suddenly he woke up, but when he came out of that image of image of Lord Shiva and seeing him dance, when he woke up, suddenly his weight came back to normal and Shesha was able to hold him. So Sheshaji, asked him this question that, why was your body suddenly so heavy, and why was it that suddenly when you woke up, your body became light again? So that is when Lord Vishnu told him that, when I went into sleep, I saw Lord Shiva dance, and Lord Shiva's dance is a very famous Tandav. Uh, and even one of your asanas, Natraj asana. So that is also Natraj. He is also known as Natraj. His dance is quite famous. He was an amazing dancer. So when Vishnuji woke up, he told Sheshaji about this entire incident and how he experienced this. And the experience was such that his body, vibrated at that frequency, and hence it became very heavy. So now Sheshaji was a very big devotee of Lord Vishnu. So he wanted to learn the art of dancing, because he saw how much that art of dance, pleased his master. So he wanted to learn this art of dancing, and he had this intense desire to come into human form so that he could learn the form of dance. And the story goes on in such a way that Lord Vishnu understood that Shivji is going to give him a blessing to, come down to earth to learn this form of dance. So eventually, till that time lag, Vishnuji told him that you keep meditating, you prepare yourself. Whenever you will get that blessing, that boon, you are going to go down, and you will get this blessing from Lord Shiva. So he was meditating during that entire time, and during his meditation, so yogi cannot just come into this world like that. Yogi has some I can say it's difficult to hold a yogi. So body should be prepared. Like we say, before meditation, do asana, prepare your body. In that way, the parents need to be prepared in order to, make sure that the yogi can come in the world. Right? So not everybody is capable of being the mother of a yogi. So while Sheshaji was meditating, he saw a yogini down on earth, and she was, desperately praying for a son because she had so much knowledge and information to give, and she wasn't able to have a son, right? So he saw that there was a way for him to come to this world as well. There was a person who was capable of handling his energy. So at the time when he got the blessing, that was the time when the yogini was just about to, give up. And in ancient times, you would see a lot of people prayed to the sun, right? Sun is considered to be the energy giver, the sustainer of the entire, our entire solar system, our entire, all the planets circle around the sun. In that way, the sun was considered to be one of the supreme, you know, uh, things that had to be worshipped. So we will see in a lot of ancient traditions also, sun is worshipped. So same way, she had taken some water in her hand, and she was just about to give up, but one last time she wanted to ask for, a sun so that she could give that information. So she took some water in her hand, and she offered that to the sun god. And as soon as she did that thing, she prayed. She opened her hands, and in her hand she saw very little snake. So uh, above Patanjali ji had got, Sheshaji had got that blessing that he could come to earth, and at that same point of time this prayer was taking place. So when she opened her hands, she saw a very tiny snake in her hands, and eventually that snake transformed into a very small baby boy, and his name was she named him Patanjali because Pat is, to fall, and Anjali was, her hands, the way in which her hands were placed. So she gave him the name Patanjali, and he grew up to become one of the main people who systematized yoga. And he also, it is said, he also learned how to dance, and he learned perfected the art of dancing when he came over here in human form. So this is one of the stories you will come across when you read up more about his existence, how he came, and his life. Another very common story related to this his existence is, on earth, the rishis and munis, they already had the science of Ayurveda. You have your Ayurveda classes, so you know that Ayurveda is a way of leading a healthy life and keeping the body healthy. So after a while, the rishis and munis, they saw that it was not merely the physical ailments that were disturbing people. There were a lot of mental ups and downs, emotional ups and downs, which were causing a lot of suffering and misery to people. So the rishis and munis, they came in a very big dilemma. How are you going to solve this thing? So they went to Lord Vishnu, and they requested him to send down some system, some information, some way in which the human being, a normal human being can get free from all levels of suffering. They wanted to be free from all levels of suffering. So Lord Vishnu, sent his own uh, place of resting, Adishesh, to this world, and he famously became known as Maharishi Patanjali ji, who systematized the entire concept of yoga and passed it down to the people that were present over there. Yeah. So these are two very common stories you will find. Another one pertains to the life of Patanjali ji. So when Patanjali ji was over here as a, he was a very high level yogi, I can say. So people knew that he was there, and they wanted to take that information from you, the information of you. So what happened was he had two conditions. He said that, okay, I will give you this information. I have two conditions. One, I need 1,000 disciples. Okay, so everybody said, all right, we are going to gather 1,000 people so that you can transmit this knowledge. All right. Then second condition he said was that when I'm transferring this knowledge to you, the knowledge of you, I'm going to be, wherever I'm going to be sitting, there is going to be a veil, and then they are going to be the students. So the students cannot see me basically when I'm transmitting this knowledge. So everybody wanted to attain the knowledge of you. So they said, all right, we are also going to arrange for this, so that you can sit over there and we are not able to see you when you are given this knowledge. So both terms and conditions were agreed upon, and 1,000 people gathered together to attain that knowledge from him. So now he was transmitting the knowledge at that point of time. When the time was fixed, the place was fixed, he was transmitting that knowledge. And the thing was, he never spoke a word. So people were able to attain that knowledge, and they were able to feel the knowledge of you that he was giving, right? They were able to feel that thing. And he never uttered a word. It is generally like whenever you come across the story, you will see that he never said something. He merely transmitted that knowledge, and it generated, like I told you, when Vishnuji also got connected to Lord Shiva and he saw him that there were certain vibrations that were produced in his body. So in that way, the information was being transmitted, and people felt very excited, very good when this knowledge was being given to them. And they were also very surprised at this thing that he was not saying anything, but the knowledge, they were gaining that knowledge. So they got very curious. And curiosity or any energy like this, spreads very easily. So, one person in 1,000 got curious. And then, how if one student in the class feels sleepy, everybody starts yawning, everybody starts feeling sleepy, it spreads very fast. The same way that curiosity, it spread really fast. And suddenly all of them wanted to know that who was sitting behind that veil, and they wanted to see how he was giving this information. So at this point of time, a very little boy, he had to go to the washroom, so he stepped out. He did not ask Patanjali ji. And when the guru is giving the knowledge, you do not interrupt. But he could not control his urge to use the washroom, so he stepped out. He said that it's only going to take a few minutes. Let me step out and then I will come back. Okay, so he stepped out. Until then, the curiosity in the crowd was too much. So what happened was, one of them lifted the veil. One of them bent and he lifted the veil up. And as soon as he did that, all of them were burned to ashes. Okay? So all 999 people were burned to ashes. And when Patanjali ji saw this, he said, absorbed by the people who are there, and they can become further propagators of this knowledge. So, when this thing happened, he also became really disheartened because he had already put in so much energy and effort, in the entire process, and then this thing happened. So that is when he saw the little boy step back in. So he asked the little boy, where have you been? So the little boy told him, and he apologized. So Maharishi Patanjali, he said that, okay, one of them is still there, so let me complete this knowledge fully transfer this knowledge to him, and then maybe he can become the further propagator of this knowledge. But he also did not take the permission of Patanjali ji. So, punishment also had to be given. So, Guru is Guru. So, he gave the knowledge, that's all right. But he had to punish him also. Why? Because he hadn't taken permission. So, he said this boy became the only person who acquired the entire knowledge of yoga. This was the blessing because the entire knowledge was directly transmitted to him by Maharishi Patanjali ji, right? But the curse that he was given was that he had to pass down this knowledge to one student, at least one student. Until that point, he will not be able to leave his body. All right. So thousands and thousands of years passed, and he became a Maharishi Patanjali. He gave him this curse that he's going to become a demon. In Hindi we call Rakshas, right? So he became a Rakshas, and he used to live on a tree. Okay. And whenever someone passed by that forest, he used to ask them a question. And if the person couldn't answer that question, then by his nature, he had to kill them. Okay, so it wasn't his choice. By his nature of existence, he had to kill them. So like this, thousands and thousands of years passed, and a lot of people, crossed that route, and none of them could answer that question that he was asking. I don't know what the question was, but he was asking a particular question to all of them. And when this thing happened, nobody was able to answer. Maharishi Patanjali himself saw him suffer so much for so many years, so he decided to come down as the disciple. So now the teacher became the disciple, and he came down, he answered that question, and then he gained the entire knowledge of yoga back from his student. And this is how, further transmission of the knowledge of yoga was done from generation to generation after that. And that boy got free after that because one student he required. So these are few stories which keep you, engaged, interested with what was going on, okay, how the knowledge was transmitted, These things are quite interesting. There are a lot of other stories also connected to his life. So if you found these interesting, go ahead and look for more stories. You'll find a lot of so many other stories as well related to his life. Yeah. So let's come back on track. So now let me come to the 4 chapters. First one is called Samadhi Path. Then we have Sadhana Path. Vibhuti Path. And then we have Kaivalya Path. Okay. So these are the chapters that he gave. And the 195 sutras are further divided into these chapters. So this I think 32 verses. This has I think this has 51 verses. This one has 55 verses. And 34. This is the overall division. chapters and the verses within the chapters. This totals up to 195 sutras. And in each chapter, as I told you, he has covered certain topics, certain concepts of yoga. So in the first chapter itself, he gives the definition of yoga. So the famous verse, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, is from the first chapter. So the definition of yoga. Then he talks about the vrittis. In the first chapter itself, he talks of the vrittis. So I will write down the words which are a little bit. Vrittis he talks about. Then he talks about the practices for an advanced level student. So like I told you yesterday also, I think I mentioned this thing. In the first chapter, he covers the practices for an advanced level student. So he talks of those practices. Then the concept of Ishwar or God is covered in this chapter. Also the Om you will have in your meditation classes also. Pranav has been covered by Patanjali ji in the first chapter itself. Then he also covers Samadhi. What is Samadhi? What are the types of Samadhi? All of these things are covered in the first chapter itself. Then he gives a breakdown of the different types of Samadhi. This is the overall of the first chapter, the concepts in the first chapter that you need to be aware of. He also talks of the obstacles of yoga in this chapter and how to overcome these obstacles. That has also been discussed in the first chapter itself. Okay. Let me come to the second chapter. Overall idea of the second chapter is the concept of Kriya Yoga as given by Maharishi Patanjali ji has been discussed in the second chapter. This is the practice for the intermediate level student. Before that, he also discusses the concept of kleshas or afflictions. Then, he talks about Ashtanga Yoga. In this chapter, he has talked about the 8-limbed yoga, and he begins this 8-limbed yoga in this chapter. This is the practice for a beginner level student, someone who is just starting on the path of Raj Yoga. How can they begin their practice? Step-by-step process. And he has covered till the 5th limb, Till the 5th limb, you will find the mention of Ashtanga Yoga, even though he mentions all the 8 limbs. But 5 limbs are discussed in detail in this chapter. So Samadhi path, then Sadhana is directly means discipline. So the path or the chapter which is connected with the discipline, he has given all of these things. Then Vibhuti means psychic powers, right? So psychic powers, I will touch upon this later. So various psychic powers have been discussed in this chapter, and of course the remaining 3 limbs. So first, the remaining 3 limbs are covered, then the psychic powers are mentioned. And he covers a very important thing over here, where he says that you do not have to get stuck on these psychic powers. So he very, he says that keep your focus on the main goal. You're not doing yoga to attain these powers. They are bound to come on the way when you are practicing. However, this is not something that you have to remain stuck upon. So now these become obstacles as well. If you just want to, attain these, or if you, when you attain these, you just get stuck upon them. You are not able to proceed in your journey. So he warns, gives a warning in this chapter that do not attach yourself to these psychic powers that will come along with it. Then we come to the fourth chapter where he talks of, Kaivalya. Kaivalya is the final goal. Maharishi Patanjali ji, he said that Kaivalya is the final goal, and Kaivalya, the word Kaivalya means isolation or alone, right? So he says that the final goal, the final point when you will be free from all the sufferings can only be attained in isolation. It cannot be attained with everybody else, or you cannot push someone on this path. But the person himself or herself will attain this stage and in isolation. So he called this final point Kaivalya. And in the fourth chapter, the concept of karma, then path of Kaivalya, the characteristics, and even the final definition, final point of Kaivalya, what it is. This has been talked of in the fourth chapter, and he closes this chapter with the definition of Kaivalya. So last sutra is the definition of Kaivalya, and with that the text closes, and the entire knowledge, how you have to reach this point, basically the entire knowledge was to reach this point only. So with that he closes the text and he says, now it is complete, the knowledge is complete. Right? So any doubts in any of this? No doubts? Lot of new information for you guys today, so I'll just, yeah.
For me, actually, it's really vague, as you said. Your yoga philosophy in itself is vague, and this one it's also I'm trying to take some points from here, but every time I come, I feel like, okay, there is so much to know about the history. And as you said, there might be a student who would be asking a question, and it is also good for us to know a little bit. But once again, I get into that vagueness. But now, what can I take from this and put in my life? For example, one thing that is helping me now, just because I attend these classes, I'm not allowing myself to think anything other than this. So I'm at least trying to focus and be here. But I feel that, at least for me personally, there is a lot of hard work, there is a lot of effort I have to put to really get into this yoga way of thinking, yoga way of living.
It doesn't matter where you are in your journey, as long as you're making the effort and you're keeping that effort continuous. For an advanced level student, these are the two practices that even Patanjali ji gave, Abhyas and Vairagya. I will be talking about these, but today was an overall class for you to understand the text, because you need to have an overall understanding of the text as well. So I will be touching upon this. So he says that, as long as there is continuity in your practice, and as long as you are able to proceed on the path without any attachment. So Vairagya is detachment, right? So you will go ahead in your journey. So don't worry about it. There is a lot of information, but then once again, all of that information is one only, right? So no matter what you read, Bhagavad-Gita, Upanishads, Vedas, these are just trying to say the same thing in different languages. Whichever one you are able to understand, go ahead and you can do that, right? So if you want to keep yourself engaged in these things, then you can read up more about these things. And when I take the class on Bhagavad-Gita, that is one of my major recommendations, that Bhagavad-Gita is a text that everyone should read. So maybe you can start with that to keep your mind totally absorbed in this. And you will gain a lot of understanding of how you have to navigate through life. Whenever you read any one of these texts, you will see how you have to go about your life, rather than it just being a piece of information.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Okay. So let's end today's session. Back and neck straight. Just keep the eyes closed. Observe the breath. We'll chant Om one time, followed by 3 shantis. Exhale completely. And inhale for Om. Join both the palms together in front of the chest and bow down. And let's start our day feeling grateful for everything we have. Both the palms together. Keep them on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes, come back to the smile. I will see you all for your pranayama class in the evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.